way, baby. Yes, that's the way that I had to be. I never been the kind of man to take advice from nobody. I've been doing my best, baby, trying to stay clean. You seen that show and then you know what I mean. Working real hard and gonna make it right. I'm never gonna give up without a fight. Go so long, I think I need a break. Wanna rock and wanna roll, go ahead and sing, yeah.
I think a lot of it's more about, like, it's become a lot more about the art and not it being a tattoo, which is fine. I mean, that's cool.
Yeah.
But I think there also comes a point where you got to kind of sit back and be like, you know what, it's just a fucking tattoo, you know? Like, it's like, if you're doing this crazy details with the impression that, you know, it's going to be around forever, you know, I think a lot of times when you spend that much time on the little things, you tend to forget about the big things, which is like, you know, this tattoo's got to be around for a lot longer, you know,
right?
then it's probably going to be in your book, you know, so that should be a consideration when doing a tattoo, you know.
Is there any type of tattoos that you just won't do, you just don't want to tackle at all?
I can't, you know, there's not a whole lot I won't do. I think my biggest issue comes from, like, I'm not into doing the super hyper realistic stuff.
Right.
You know, I think there's a lot of people out there that do it much better than I do, you know, and I'd recommend getting them to do it rather than myself. But that's pretty much it. I don't think there's a whole lot I wouldn't do, you know.
So if I came to you today and said, I want a back piece with a large Celtic knot and some tribal coming off it, would you do it?
If I can avoid it, I would. I've had clients though that come in recommending from friends or whatever,
yeah.
And I'll do it. You know what I mean? I'm not going to say no to somebody because I think that's unfair.
Right.
But I mean, the other thing they have to realize too is that there are people out there that I'm booking months out in advance, so it's like they have to wait. And 9 times out of 10, someone looking to get a tribal, Celtic, crazy nut job tattoo, like, you know, commercial like looking tattoo is not going to wait 3 months for a tattoo. They're going to go up to the shop up the road and get it.
Yeah, more serious.
Exactly.
The more serious client.
The more serious client knows to wait.
Well, not to say that isn't serious. I mean, a Celtic knot to some people
well,
is very important.
Exactly. The fact of the matter is, exactly. Well, that goes right back to what I was saying. A tattoo is a tattoo. It's got nothing to do with what you like or dislike. The fact of the matter is that person wears it for the rest of their life.
Right.
And who the fuck am I to say that they're wrong in what they like?
Exactly.
You know. And I think that's what a lot of people don't consider is the fact that, you know, it's not up to us. It's up to the client.
Right.
You know. I mean, granted, we have the choice of what we do and don't want to do.
Yeah.
You know. But,
well, yeah, I mean, if there's somebody more suited that wants to do that tattoo that'll do a better job, why not go to that person?
And that's, to be honest, that's been my biggest thing, too. Is like, I was never good at doing tribal. I'm not good at drawing it. There are people that are very talented at doing it and do it very, very well, much better than I've ever done it. So I would assume to recommend them, you know, over myself, you know. And it's got nothing to do with not wanting to do it. It's just that I don't think it looks good when I do it, you know, for whatever reason, my sense of design, whatever.
Okay. So it looks like you're getting into the shading of the tattoo.
Yeah.
Now what exactly are you using now for
this is an 11 mag in an open face tube. Open face tubes are just easier to clean, so they're kind of nicer to use. But I'll get most of my black shading in. I tend to work, originally when I first started tattooing, I'd work a lot of like black and gray, and then color over it. But as time progresses, you kind of see things heal up, and they kind of heal up a little fuzzy or a little faded, you know, not super saturated.
Right.
And one of the things I learned actually from Eric here was working right over my black, trying to whip shade my black out as strong as I can get it, and then working right off of that, which gives you a much stronger value system, you know.
That's a really good tip.
Yeah.
Do you feel like, do you ever dip your black into your mid-tones in order
occasionally,
to
like,
go from dark to light?
Yeah, occasionally. Like, I only do it with a handful of colors. Like, a lot of times I'll do it with, like, reds and stuff like that, because those are colors that kind of transfer well. But a lot of times I like to use a pure pigment color, whether it be a green or a pure pigment purple, because that gives you just a different value as opposed to a muddied, darker color. It gives you an actual valued color, you know, which I think is really important.
Now, do you have your colors in your head already, more or less, when you're doing the tattoo?
Yeah.
Or do you kind of shoot from the hip sometimes?
A lot of times it's like I'll try to have an idea in my head of what I want to do, like a lot of people just assume because I do this all the time that I automatically know what I'm going to do and everything's like, you know, planned out and stuff. Dude, I sweat every fucking tattoo I do till this day, you know, especially when I'm tattooing another tattooer, like, 'cause there's really not much worse pressure than you can put on yourself. But I do really stress, I do sweat most tattoos I do almost every single day. But yeah, I try to go in with some kind of a plan, you know, because I mean, the fact of the matter is I do know what I'm doing, you know, and I should have an idea of where I'm going to go with something, which is one of the things, I think, reasons why I'm a little bit faster than not, because of just having a plan, like just going about things a certain way, you know, like it's like starting from the top to bottom on a tattoo. You just know how you're going to go, progress, so it's a lot easier to go about it that way.
Now, with the black, do you like to go heavy contrast so that
on something like this I am, especially on a hand. The problem with a lot of hands is they're hard. First of all, it's a hard tattoo to do, you know, to make it look good and make it last. And to go for subtlety on a hand is it's not only difficult, it's also just downright hard in the sense that the tattoo's got to last, and you can do the best job to your ability, but the fact of the matter is if a person's got rough skin, if he goes to tattoo tomorrow and he puts on a pair of gloves, you know, they're going to have a hard time healing.
Right.
So a lot of times it's better to kind of go for the things that you know are going to work. Heavy contrast, you know, bright colors in the contrast, stuff like that, because you know that's going to probably hold up the best. Sorry about that. It's my cell phone.
paging Joe Capobianco?
Yeah.
So what type of music do you like to listen to when you're tattooing?
The stuff that you guys fucking hate. I listen to a lot of different stuff. I mean, I like bands like Social Distortion, and I like bands like Gray Area. I also like a lot of swing music, rockabilly music. This shop is probably one of the weirdest, like, been the hardest thing to kind of get. Everybody pretty much lets you do what you want, which is kind of cool, but for the most part, I have to listen to my own shit on Sundays when nobody else is here. So
you can listen to your own stuff. It's okay, Joe.
Yeah.
All right.
As far as like the music, though, I like stuff that just like, you know, that's relaxing. It's more of a background thing. I don't I don't zone out as much because a lot of times I'm talking to the client or whatever, so it makes for a much easier, relaxing situation, you know.
Right.
Because I mean, the idea is to make the customer feel comfortable, not so much myself, you know.
Cool. So what's your take on tattoo magazines? Is it good? Good, bad?
You know, for the most part, it's really good. I mean, it's my problem with tattoo magazines are 9 times out of 10 the tattoo magazines. They're not really doing the legwork, I think, that's involved. I mean, there are a few magazines that do. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, to lump them all in together would be incorrect. But I think a lot of the biggest problems with magazines nowadays is the fact that they're not paying their editors enough, whether it be because they simply can't afford to or whatever, or they just don't think that's important. But I don't think they do enough legwork. I don't think they go to enough conventions. And when they do go to conventions, they pretty much just fucking waltz around, take a bunch of fucking photographs, and go home and write it off. Like, I think part of like it's reporting, man. Like, you go out, you find the fucking artists that people are being inspired by.
Right.
I mean, I don't think I can recall the last time someone from a magazine came up to me and said, "Hey, who do you think we should talk to this weekend?" You know. I don't think they do that enough. Like, I think there's some insanely talented people out there that are completely being left and forgotten based on the fact that magazines just aren't looking. You know what I mean? It's like the art world, you know? It's like, unless you beat somebody over the fucking head, they don't know you exist, you know?
Right. Well, there's so much talent out there now. Do you think they just can't keep up with it, or do you feel like there's just
that's certainly part of it. You know, that's definitely part of it. But I think a lot of it comes down to the fact that, like, I think they just need to maybe plan things out a little better. I mean, artists don't help the situation either. I mean, a long time ago, I bitched and complained about the magazines, but the fact of the matter is the magazines rely on people sending work in. When artists no longer send work in, then obviously they're going to be hard up for work.
Right.
You know, you can't physically go to somebody's studio and take photos from them. You know, the artists have to send the work in. So when magazines are publishing predominantly crappy tattoos, it's mainly because, you know, crappy tattooers are sending the work in. You know, that's not entirely the fault of the magazine. But every magazine should have that gem where you open it up and there's some dude from the Midwest that's just a phenomenal tattooer that you're just like, holy shit, where the hell did this guy come from?
Right.
You know, just this past year, I mean, well, Nico's been around for a couple of years, but he's one of the artists that, like, and the only reason I bring him up is because he's in town now, and it's you know, he's on my mind, obviously. But he's one of those guys that, like, you know, kind of came out of nowhere, man. One minute he wasn't there, and the next minute he was.
Right.
There's another guy, this guy Jeff Gogwe, who does phenomenal tattooing. I met him at the Detroit show last year. You know, those guys are out there. You just got to find them, you know.
Right.
And whether they're low-key because they want to be or not, you know.
You think it's more, it has to do more because of the internet?
The internet's
all the
become a
sites
humongous tool.
Right.
It's become a huge tool. I mean, a lot of my work comes from, the guys that tattoo now, a lot of my work comes from my website, you know. That's been one of the biggest boons, I think, in my career because, for one, it gets your work out there to countless people, you know what I mean, which you can't beat. You know, fact of the matter, you just simply can't beat that. The fact that you can update your stuff, like you have to be able to get it out there, but you got to be able to update it too. People don't want to keep coming back to the same fucking boring site. You know, they want to see what's new, what the guy's doing. You know, whether it be just traveling, like where's he going to be next month? Like where can I hook up with him?
Right.
You know, so I think that's become a big deal. And then being able to keep in touch with people, like the internet, MySpace, Ink Nation, all those things, man, like message boards. Those things are humongous tools, man, that I don't think are utilized nearly enough. I mean, you can also get sucked in. I mean, I have to ignore it occasionally because, you know, you get so many friggin' emails, you just can't keep up. And you get people looking for handouts or help or advice, and you know, this ain't Dear Sally, man. Like, I only have a certain amount of time, and there's certain people I do keep in touch with, and there are certain people I will help online. But I mean, realistically, I don't know if it's Joe Schmo, the tattooer, or some dude working out of his fucking home,
Right.
you know, who's going to be tattooing his cousin that night and needs to, you know, to know what kind of a needle setup to set up, you know.
Right.
Like, it's one thing to help people out, but it's another thing to do so blindly and, you know, help out some dude who's just banging people up.
So you're kind of walking a fine line constantly.
Yeah, you know, as much as I'm like, I'm all about not turning people down or turning people away, by the same token, you got to kind of think about it, you know, and it pisses people off too. I've had people that I wasn't super forthcoming with, and they kind of, you know, threw it in my face, like, well, you fucking hypocrite, you know, you said this, that, and the other thing on your form, and, you know, I asked you for your advice, or I asked for a portfolio critique, and, you know, you never got back to me. So it's a tough one, man, it really is.
Right. So say like Tattoo Now, it's been huge. You're saying pretty much that.
Yeah, it's been a big
it's
help.
A website that you should definitely look into getting.
I think a website would totally be would be a good thing. And the thing that's nice about, and I hate this sounds like a fucking commercial.
Yeah.
And you know, it's really.
Well, I
not
mean, you can't really mention something and not have.
and
it sound
not
like a
yeah.
commercial.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, exactly. If it's like an endorsement, and I don't mean to. I mean, I've been with Tattoo Now for Christ since before I left New York, so probably about 8 years, and it's been a great help. But one of the biggest things, one of the nicest things about the site is, like, I'm pretty computer illiterate, and in order to have a successful website, you need to update it. In order to update things, you need to know how to fucking work, you know, to run the programs or whatever, any number of things.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't have that ability, then obviously you're going to do very poorly in updating your site. The Tattoo Now site, the joy of it is the fact that most of the programs are there. It's just a matter of actually taking the time to do it. You know, I always recommend. I'm like, listen, if you're thinking about doing it, then you got to know that you have to update it. If you don't update it, then you're wasting your money.
Right.
You know, because that's the biggest you know, boon to that site. Brought to you by Tattoo Now.
So pretty much nowadays, I mean, you've been tattooing a long time. How long?
It actually 14 years this month.
14 years.
14 years this month.
So what keeps Joe Capobianco's juices flowing?
I don't know, man. I really wish I could answer that.
Is it the pot of coffee you drink every day?
Yeah, the several cups of coffee. I don't drink that much fucking coffee.
Yes, you do. I work with you. Don't lie.
I drink a lot of coffee. I don't think that's it, though. I think to be honest, it's constantly striving just to do a better tattoo, you know, or just to stay in the game, I mean, I don't want to say I'm an egomaniac, you know, but I mean, what people think of my work, I don't really give a shit what people think about me, you know, because anybody who knows me knows I'm pretty fucking opinionated, not in the best of ways either. but I really don't care what they think about me. I want my work to be admired or respected, whatever. You know what I mean? I really don't give a shit. Part of me doesn't really fucking care.
Right.
But the other part of me, you know, obviously I'm an artist. You know, I'm proud of what I do for a living.
Right.
You know, I enjoy it, and I want people to, you know, to admire that. You know, I don't expect it to get me anything, you know, anything for free or anything. You know, I'm of the opinion that you give what you get. That's why I think I try to be, you know, fairly polite when people ask for a portfolio critique, but I'm also fairly honest. You know, if I don't like something, you know, I'm liable to let you know that. That's why when people ask me for a portfolio review or to go over their stuff or whatever, I'm like, don't ask me unless you want an honest opinion, you know,
Right.
because I don't think giving any other kind of opinion makes sense, you know.
Well, yeah, I mean, the whole point of them asking is so that they can better themselves. And if you're not truthful, then how can you?
Then they can't better themselves.
Exactly.
And that's been the thing with me too. I don't get enough, you know, I don't think I get too much in the way of constructive criticism, which I don't think is healthy. The nice thing about working with the people I work with here, like you and Eric and stuff, is for the most part, if someone doesn't like anything, they're going to tell you. They're going to let you know how they feel about it, which I think is important. You know, if you don't have that, then it's kind of pointless to even ask.
Right.
You know, but it's nice to be able to work. And then the other thing too is to work with people that you're pushed by. You know, everybody in here is a phenomenal artist. You know what I mean? Let alone tattooer. You know, so it's kind of nice to have that. You know, that there as well. You know, I mean, you go into anybody's room in between tattoos, or when you take a break, you know, you're gonna see something that's being done that you're just gonna be blown away by. And you learn every day that way.
What advice do you give, like, an up-and-coming tattooist as far as getting their work out there or exposure?
Exposure is just getting out to the magazines. You know, so I think getting your work out there, letting people know who you are, you know, getting the stuff to the magazines is very, very important. Get your stuff online.
Do you think it's important to stay respectful and be tactful in how
That's
you do
the
that?
most important thing. It's, you know, it's one thing to let people know who you are and let people know that you want to be recognized and that you want to be, you know, popular, famous, you know, well respected, whatever. But the fact of the matter is, you fucking have to stay humble.
Right.
That's the most important thing. It's one thing to know you're really good, but it's another thing to, like, do it in a manner that you're not offending people or straight up just pissing people off.
Right.
You know, because you know, your ego can very easily be mistaken as, you know, just being a complete pompous ass. You know,
Right.
so I think that's part of it. Everybody in this industry is an artist. You know, people are capable of making their own decisions based on that. You don't have to be that guy. You can do this respectfully, and you can do it very, very classy, without looking like a total fool. You know.
Right.
And you can still keep the respect that you deserve. You know, which I think is the most important thing. You know, I think that if you don't have, it's one thing to be admired as a great artist, but if you're not liked, then it's kind of fucking pointless, you know? Like, you've tried all this time to get somewhere, and, you know, you get there and nobody wants to talk to you. So what's the fucking point, you know? I mean, part of this business is getting to know really good people, and if you don't have that opportunity, then it's kind of pointless to go out there, you know?
Yeah. So basically, traveling comes into play when, like, as far as meeting other artists, you
Yes.
you recommend that.
I totally recommend traveling. I love traveling. One of the things that this guy, Tom Butler, told me years ago was this business offers you the ability to go anywhere in the world and do it for a living and make a couple of bucks while you're there and pay for your trip and open doors and avenues that you don't have, you know, if you were a fucking, you know, car salesman or, you know, a guy worked in a factory, you know. We're offered a great fucking gift. I've been to Japan, I've been to Europe, I've been to so many places and met so many fantastic, cool people. And it's all because of this business, this industry, and it's so nice to be able to have that. So I would totally recommend that. I mean, besides, the more people get out, the less I have to travel. You know, it'd be nice to have some people come to us, you know, to come here. It would be super cool to see that more often. Because right now, in order to get to see certain people, I only see them on the road. You know, I do a lot of conventions. It's not because I'm looking to, you know, to grow as in popularity. I'm doing it because there are people I've met on the road that I genuinely enjoy their company, and I want to be able to spend more time with them.
Right.
You
So
know?
it's basically you get to catch up with friends at conventions,
Exactly.
hang out, have dinner,
Exactly.
have
I mean,
that conversation, see
exactly.
what they're doing in
I
their.
mean, that's how I met. I mean, crap. I met you at the first Connecticut convention. I
Right.
met Eric at Eric actually came to the shop, but I met him and our friend Jimmy Dillon at the Mad Hatter convention.
Yeah.
You know, and through that we built a rapport and a friendship. You know,
So it's a good avenue.
it's a great avenue just to meet people and enjoy yourself and grow a little bit as an artist. I think that's the most important thing. You know, the whole point is to get out there, do what you want, but don't lose sight of the fact that this is all, it's all bullshit unless you enjoy it. You know what I mean? Unless you're getting something there.
Right. What has been your, like, in your travels, what's, say, your favorite place you've been to so far that you really enjoyed?
One of my favorite places I think we've been to is also one of the first times I left the country was going to Lausanne, Switzerland. I got to meet Philip Liu that first year. I met this guy Bit and the guys he works with from Lausanne, and they were so freaking cool. Like the convention they hold, it's in Lausanne, Switzerland. It's a fantastic show, super fun people to be around. They treated us like royalty. And at the time, I was just starting to get out there, so nobody really knew who I was. But just the fact that they knew we came in from the States and we took the time to come to their convention, like they were super, super nice. And I've been there 3 times since.
Yeah.
That was probably one of my favorite times. I also was one of the first big trips I went to with my girlfriend, which was a big deal. Like being able to go someplace with someone you really want to be around, definitely helps make it that much more enjoyable. And then I've been to Japan, which was, if it weren't for the culture shock, would have probably been more fun.
Right.
But it was definitely a blast having been able to go there. That was a lot of fun.
Now you said you met Philip Liu. What's Philip like? As far as in your career, like, did you look up to Philip when you were coming up?
I mean, I don't know anybody in this business who doesn't look up to Philip. In all honesty, I mean, the guy's tremendous. Like, he's one of those guys. He's just incredibly nice, insanely talented. You know what I mean? One of the nicest people I think I've ever met in this business. I couldn't possibly say enough nice things about the guy. So yeah, I think he was probably, in my traveling, probably one of the coolest guys I've met.
Cool.
And I'd recommend anybody who gets the opportunity to go to meet him and go to his shop in Switzerland to do it. Take the advantage and go. I've never been tattooed by him, but he's just super, super cool guy.
Yeah. Now, who would you love to get tattooed by in the industry?
That's a tough one, man. Philip is definitely one of them. I got lucky. I got tattooed by Shige from Japan, I really dug his work. Mm-hmm. This guy Miyazo from Japan, whose work I really admired too. Bernie Luther. I've been tattooed by a lot of the guys that I really enjoyed getting tattooed by. I wanted to get tattooed by.
Yeah.
As far as people that are still out there that I haven't been tattooed by yet, Philip is definitely one of them. Mick from Zurich would be probably one of those guys. Mm-hmm. There's an artist named Chris Blinston down in Florida whose work I really kind of dig. Just a super solid tattooer. I can't think of anybody else off the top of my head. There's so many people I admire, but I don't necessarily admire them because I want to be tattooed by them. I admire them more because of what they do.
Because of what they do, yeah, exactly. Is there any tattoo that you have that kind of is one of your faves?
My forearm, my Buddha,
yeah.
And my pinup girl from Capobianco. Those are 2 of my favorite tattoos, probably.
Who did the Buddha?
Mike Ledger.
Ledger.
Yeah, 11 years ago, I think it is.
Wow.
It's been a while, yeah. Probably one of my favorite tattoos. It definitely helped change the way I tattoo. Like these 2 tattoos, I think the pinup from Cap and the Buddha from Mike are 2 that probably have had the most influence. Like they definitely changed the way I think about how I approach a tattoo.
What was the year that you started doing pinups? What do you think was the big turnaround year?
About a year and a half after I started tattooing, I did a Betty Page pinup on a guy's chest that got published, and it just blew up. Like it got published, it was on a page with 4 images on it, 4 of my pieces on it, and everybody freaked out over it. And that was probably the big tattoo that really kind of started opening up doors for me. About a year after that, or 2 years after that, I did my very first hand tattoo, which was on Eric. I did a pinup girl on his hand.
Right.
And immediately after that, I started doing pinup girls on hands. And ever since then, it's pretty much been like, standard fare. Like, that's what everybody knows me for.
You're the pinup guy.
Exactly.
So it literally took 1 or 2 tattoos to make you the pinup guy.
Yeah. Well, that was tattoos, and then like right after that, like obviously I enjoy women and doing paintings of them and stuff. So right after that, but even before I was tattooing, like I was doing artwork, and it always involved with like women in some way, pinup form in some way. Like I'm a huge Olivia fan, the artist Olivia Soriyama, all those guys. So obviously that's got a lot to do with how I feel about what I enjoy.
Is there anything, do you ever feel like you're tired of doing pinups, or do you think you'll ever hit that stage?
I don't know. It's hard to say. I mean, I haven't yet. I mean, it's almost like thumbing your nose at how you make a living, and I don't think it's really fair. I think if I ever get to a point where I absolutely hate doing them, I'd like to think I'd stop, but I mean, it's hard to say yes or no.
So after all that time, you still love doing pinups
I can
every
honestly
day?
say I do, only because of the fact that I don't consider myself to be so great at what I do that it's become like second nature or tiring. Like it's genuinely hard. Like I really do stress it, doing that. So that definitely helps keep it kind of fresh,
So you're pouring your ink now. What tones are you pouring?
I'm gonna kind of go with when I pulled this picture, I kind of futzed around with it in Photoshop, and I'm gonna go with more of an ochre kind of, like almost like dirty, like kind of tan, like dark complexion.
Right.
I don't want to go with the Day of the Dead theme, so I'm gonna do dark circles around her eyes. I'll probably use purples and stuff to accentuate that. That should go well with like the ochres and the yellows. I'll probably do a yellow highlight on her face, and like more browns and stuff in the top of it to simulate the wood. So this is where I kind of shoot from the hip. This is where I'm not 100% sure yet. So
you're gonna make it more look tiki-ish.
Yeah.
From that point.
Yeah. Once I start actually hammering through it, I'll have a better idea what I'm gonna do. Like right now, I'm still kind of up in the air. Like I have an idea of where I want to go with it, but
right.
I'm not 100% yet. That's reassuring.
So what tones are you starting with in that piece?
I usually work top to bottom.
Uh-huh.
So I'm doing all my brown tones in the tiki. Like I said, I'm probably gonna go with like more woods. So browns and ochres, stuff like that. I'll probably put like a purple, like highlight or drop on it at some point.
And you're back to the 11 mag right now?
Still using the 11, yeah. The 7 I'll probably use for like little things like little features and like in the eye, stuff like that.
I bet that pretty much helps you move throughout those spaces.
Yeah,
pretty quickly then.
Originally, I used to be all about using just simply using larger mags, and then I had a handful of people kind of comment on how my work wasn't not really holding up 110%. You know what I mean? So, and it kind of came out in kind of a shitty way. So, kind of took it to heart when that came up. So. I've come to the conclusion that it's better to kind of be a little bit, smarter about the types of needle setups I decide to use, and, not move so fast just because I'm using a big mag, So it's better to switch to a smaller mag and get the job done proper.
Yeah, just pack it.
Exactly.
Okay.
Because there's only so much you can, I angle. I mean, even with the larger mags, I mean, I'm working pretty much on my corners. I'm not really, using them completely flat. I mainly angle my stuff.
Right. You're obviously using the real tight circle method.
Yeah, exactly. With a 7, even with an 11 mag, I'm probably only utilizing maybe 7 or 8 needles, you know what I mean, in certain parts of the tattoo.
Okay. So that gives you a little bit more freedom as far as movement?
Oh, most definitely, yeah. I think so, And then, like you said, whenever you got to get into those tight little spots, instead of trying to finagle in this big mag, you just switch to a smaller mag. That's why I set 4 machines up, 2 liners, 2 shaders. I don't have to worry about, crap, I got to work my way through with this one. I can just pick up another machine and start running with it.
Do you worry about dirtying your tones, like when you're doing darker and lighter?
No, I kind of almost rely on dirtying my tones because I don't really, I don't pre-mix a lot of colors. Like I pretty much go with what's there. So a lot of times, in order to get certain tones, I'll literally, and now's a perfect example. I'm going from purple to like a lavender,
right?
To get that off color. You know what I mean? Which is probably one of the things people, think, well, wow, you got a unique palette. It's like, I've got a unique palette because I'm not using this color straight out of the bottle.
So you're definitely a fan of dipping from one tone to the next tone to
Most
the next
definitely,
tone.
yeah. It makes things a little bit more painterly, gives things a little bit more of a unique feel, you know.
Yep.
So it kind of gives you it just gives you an overall, like, just a freer looking piece, you know. Like I said, nothing's got a real standard look to it, you know.
Okay. So so you don't really use pre-mixed tones. You don't recommend.
Well,
using,
I mean, I will. I mean, like, I'll use, like I said, I'm using the browns, but like a lot of times with like the brown, the eternal brown's more of like a reddish, kind of like a reddish brown. So a lot of times, in order to get a more woody feel, I'll cut my brown with a pure pigment green, which is what I just did actually. And what that does is it kind of takes that warmth right out of the tattoo, right out of the brown, and now gives you a much kind of cooler, richer brown. And the same thing when I do skin tones, a lot of times I will cut the brown with a purple, and that will actually kind of warm up your tone and just give you a kind of a different type of richer tone, you know. So this will give you a kind of a brown, like a muddier brown when you mix with the green. And mixing with the purple will give you a kind of a richer, kind of brighter brown, you know.
Do you find it hard to keep consistent throughout the tattoo if you say if you're doing a large
I
area?
mean, you kind of gotta. Again, this is where doing something over and over and over again kind of comes in handy.
Right.
Where the fact that you know what it's going to look like, it doesn't matter. I know I can pull this off over and over again. You know, when I'm doing larger tattoos, like back pieces or full sleeves, occasionally I'll pre-mix that tone if I'm using a lot of it, you know.
Right. Like, or say if you had to go back and touch it up, you just kind of pretty much have to.
Then yeah, they pretty much.
have to
Now
guess or
now you're mixing it to the best of your ability.
Right.
And
So
sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't.
just color matching.
Exactly.
Now, are you going to go through the entire thing and do all the headdress first and then
Yep.
move down?
I will work strictly top to bottom. I actually trying to think who did this to me first. It might have been Timothy Hoyer, I think. It was either Timothy or Mario when I got tattooed by them. They literally worked section to section, and what I noticed was it didn't hurt nearly as much. It was a lot easier to handle the tattoo, and it's kind of cool because you get to see things getting completed as you go, and it just eliminates me going here to here to here to here to here to here, where to the point by the time you're done, you know, the client's like, you know, doesn't know whether he's coming or going, you know. So it tends to be a little bit less traumatic for them,
Right.
you know, in my opinion. I know when I've been tattooed in this manner, it's a lot easier to handle. The only problem and the only thing I always warn people about when they're watching me tattoo this way is you've got to be really, really careful. It's very easy to stain your colors. It's real easy to get to a point where, you know, you're not going to be able to get a photo of the tattoo after it's done. You're going to have to wait for the person to come back. You know, you got to be extra careful with
The way you wipe is
Exactly.
swiping a certain direction.
Exactly. That's why you always kind of work top to bottom and always wipe down. But even still, I mean, I'll still, you know, have to go back in and, you know, have the person come back to get a photo or whatever, because it just didn't heal. It still got the foggy kind of feel because it's got so much ink in the pores, you know,
Yeah.
from the tattoo.
So when you're dipping pretty much from tone to tone, do you find it? Do you clean the palette, you know, in your rinse water when you're going in between?
Yeah, for the most part. I mean, I'm pretty sloppy with that, so I kind of move a little bit quicker. And the thing is, the more often you dip into that same color, you know, without going back and forth, you're getting a truer color the further you go on. So that's why when you work in a section to section, you don't have to sweat it quite as much, because by the time you get to where you need it to be true, you are, you know, because you've dipped back and forth to it so many times.
Right.
You know.
So you still get that pure tone by the end of it.
By the end of it, yeah.
So
I think this is all a matter of like just it's trial and error. You practice with it until you know you got it right, you know.
Yeah, it's all about. Now, is there any way to simulate the practice? Would you recommend like maybe say medium like colored pencils or
Yeah,
something like that?
colored pencils. Like, I mean, that's been one of the biggest, you know, one of my biggest practice things was if you use colored pencils, like the Prismacolor pencils on like vellum, like the tracing vellum, the tracing vellum will almost simulate skin in the sense that it gives you an off color to work on, like whether it be off-white or gray or whatever. So when you use your whites or your light tones, they actually show up. So it's very similar to working on skin, you know. So you can kind of, and almost any color you can get in a colored pencil, you'll be able to match, you know, on the skin for the most part, you know. So I totally, that's the one thing I always tell people, like draw, you know.
What type of pencils do you like to use? What brand pencil do you like to draw in?
For drawing, I use, for drawing tattoos, I use the Prismacolor, crap, what are they called?
The Cool Erase?
The color erase, yeah, the color erase pencils. I only use those, though, when I'm drawing for tattoos. The problem with the color erase pencils is they are not light fast. So for finished art, you have to kind of use something that you know is going to hold up to the test of time.
Right.
So I use, for that kind of stuff, I use these other pencils called Very Thin. They're also made by Barrel or Prismacolor. They're really good pencils. The problem being is when they say very thin, they mean it. Like they're really thin, these real thin pencils. So they have a tendency to kind of snap on you. They're not the greatest to actually draw with, in my opinion. You know.
Yeah.
But it gives you the same feel that the color erase pencils do. I like using colored pencils when I draw. I don't know what it is about the colored pencils. I just like what it looks like. It's like pleasing to the eye. I don't know. As gay as that sounds, it seems to work. It seems to work for me, you know. So I highly recommend those color erase pencils to anybody, you know.
Now, do you ink all your line drawings, or do you do a pencil?
No, I ink. You guys had started doing the pencil thing. And it works really well because you can constantly control. But I don't know. I've been doing the ink thing for so long. Yeah. I use those Itoya pens, or I've got a couple of different pens I've been trying, but and I like those a lot. And I just got used to using those. So I prefer to use ink over pencils to make my line drawings.
Yeah.
And I always do that because, like, with the line drawing, it gives me a solid. You know, I don't usually sketch in too much of my line drawings. I try to get my line drawing as close to what it's going to look like on skin, you know, minus all the bold work. Like, I don't put all my bold lines that I'm going to use. Right. But over the last couple of years, I've kind of cut down on how much I use for bold lines on skin. I don't go quite as crazy with that stuff anymore.
Yeah. Now, this past year, you put out an art book.
Yes.
Put out an art book and a sketchbook.
Yeah, the art that whole thing came about like. Eric was actually one of the people that was trying to, you know, recommend that I do an art book or a sketchbook. And at the time, this is going back almost 3 years now, everybody was starting to put out sketchbooks. And I was like, I kind of want to do it, but I don't want to jump on everybody else's bandwagon. And so I was kind of against doing it. And I'd spoken to Brett over at Pulse, who was pretty much the creative force behind the whole thing, and he'd recommended that I definitely do it. So what ended up happening was we ended up having a sit down together, and I dropped off all my stuff. I dropped off like 4 huge folders worth of paintings, sketches, everything. Stacks of sketchbooks. I probably had about 15, 16 sketchbooks we went through.
Wow.
Some dating back as early as like 8 or 9 years ago. Not the really early stuff because that stuff was pretty horrible. And then some drawings that I had done from probably about 15, 16 years ago. Some of the real fashion kind of looking stuff that's in my book, the cornier looking stuff, is from way back when.
Well, it's just dated.
It's very dated.
I wouldn't say it's corny, though. I mean, you look back at it, and it still looks just as good as then.
I guess it's real dated, though.
It's just the hairstyle is
very. You can tell I grew up in the '80s.
Right.
Yeah. So I brought all that stuff to him with the intentions of doing a sketchbook, and then once he saw everything, he felt that we had to do both. Like there was enough work there to definitely do a sketchbook and an art book, and he's the creative force behind that, man. Like he did all the legwork, he did all the grunt work, he did all the scanning, all the design work is his. I just basically vetoed yes or no on things I didn't like. And for the most part, I can't say there was very few things I disliked about it. He pretty much, everything he did, he pretty much hit out of the park. I really dug just about everything he came up with.
So the art book itself is pretty much based on older to newer work?
The art book itself, yeah, the art book literally starts off with stuff that I had done before I even tattooed. Probably stuff I did in like early '90s, some is like '89 and early '90s, and then it goes into more contemporary stuff. But it's probably a good chunk of it. The majority of it's probably paintings and art done from the last like 10 years, 10 or 11 years, and then some of the stuff, like I said, there's a handful of stuff that dates back to like as early as '89, '90.
Now the sketchbook is its own separate book, and that's just all.
The sketchbook is literally is sketchbooks from, like I said, probably about, like I said, the last 8 or 9 years, and it's all imagery from mainly tattoos, which is one of the reasons I had a problem with certain people using the sketchbook as reference. We only charge $35 for the sketchbook. It's 120 pages, and the idea behind that was to make it affordable. Like, I own a lot of art books,
right?
And the idea behind owning an art book is to see what people are doing, but not having to pay an arm and a leg for it. So $35, and even for the art book, which is $50, to me that's a fair price for a good product,
Yeah.
But it was not meant to, for people to draw from. You know what I mean? It was meant to inspire people into drawing themselves. So I'm just starting to get more of that, where people are finally starting to realize. You leaving again? Take care, man. Where people are starting to come to the realization that this is not about, giving people all this reference, all this free reference. It's about, making them want to go out and draw for themselves. You know what I mean?
Right.
So they're finally starting to come to, starting to do their own thing with it. But yeah, I just wanted to get the stuff out there and show off what I was capable of doing, and kind of show people what my sketchbooks look like. I love looking at people's sketchbooks. I love looking at people's early works.
Yeah.
Even like beginning of paintings and stuff. It's just, to me, that's a real unique thing,
Yeah. So does it anger you when you see?
It doesn't anger me. It kind of pisses me off because I don't think it's fair to my clients. I don't think it's fair to their clients because I think 9 times out of 10, when someone decides that they want to get, a mermaid, they're not bringing my sketchbook to the artist and going, hey, listen, I want this mermaid. I think what's happening is the artist is looking at it and going, oh, you need a mermaid? I think I got one. Hold on. And it goes in the back and, pulls one out of my sketchbook, which I don't think is fair because, the client doesn't know he's getting something that's probably done on somebody else, for one. That's what they make Flash for. If you want to bite somebody else's shit, use Flash, and that's not even biting. that's what Flash is sold for, It's, but the paintings, they do one thing, I don't mind people taking my paintings and using them as reference, that's what the paintings are there for.
Your main concern is people not using
my
tattooed
sketch.
imagery
Exactly.
that you've done.
And that's the thing too. That's the flip side of having a good website is the fact that now people go online and they don't look at the website as, oh, this is what I can get. They look at it as, oh, this is what I'm getting. And that's not fair because we've done stuff. We go out of our way to draw stuff for clients.
Yeah.
So for someone to download something off of the website and then go to their own artist and say, hey, I want this, I think it then becomes the artist's responsibility to go, hey man, this is already done on somebody. Let me draw something for you like it. This has been going on. This is a dilemma that's been going on in our business for as long as I've been in it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's been going on longer than that, where people are constantly using stuff that doesn't belong to them, and there's not a whole lot you can do about it. But the fact that you make yourself vocal about it, you're letting people know that, hey, this is not all right, this is not cool, this belongs to somebody else, it's not yours. Draw the fucking thing. That's what you're getting hired for, you know. So I think there's a flip side to being, to gaining some kind of notoriety in the industry, in the business.
Yeah, you're either known too much, where the point where people are just replicating your stuff, or not known enough.
Yeah, exactly. And they just happen to stumble across it and decide they're going to do something from it. And I don't want to sound bitter about it because I'm very flattered that so many people bought my book, but I just hope they bought it because they admired the work, not because they were looking for, they were looking to not have to draw for the next 6 months, and bite somebody else's shit.
Yeah, so the sketchbook isn't meant to be flash. It's
Exactly.
meant to be
The sketchbook is
inspiration
exactly.
for other tattooers.
And like, I mean, I always tell people, is like, if I meant it as flash, if I meant you to make money off of it, I would have charged more than $35. You know. So
Yeah. I mean, this business is based on the flash mentality, and you have to
Exactly.
kind of excuse that to some degree because, or expect it, not excuse it. You know, expect it to some degree. just
which I
be-
totally do. You know.
Yeah.
But by the same token, like you said, I mean, there should be some people should be held accountable for what they're doing. You know what I mean? They should be known that it's not cool. I'm not happy about it. I'm sure my clients are not happy about it.
Right.
And if their clients had time to think about it, they wouldn't be they wouldn't be very cool with it. You know.
So, is there anything that you would have changed about the book that maybe you would have put in now, as an afterthought?
Maybe a stronger, forward, because I mean, I do say in the forward that the artwork in this book is meant to inspire, not to be used as like, you didn't just score King Mother of all Flash, you know what I mean? Like, this is meant to inspire individuals, not to be used to, just to put on your coffee table and say, hey, look, I want to get this out of here,
Yeah.
It's meant to, kind of draw people into working, drawing more often, not just, biting what they see. And some people get that. I mean, I've had a lot of people tell me, hey, I've gotten your book. It's very inspirational. Really happy that I bought it. And that's what I wanted from people. I wanted people to admire it and really dig owning it, And I want people to know that, this is how I draw, and this is how you should be drawing. This is how you should go out. I mean, everybody should be able to publish their flash. I mean, their sketches into this big volume where you can actually, wherever people can enjoy it,
Right.
or get it out online, get it in the magazines.
So, what do you say to those guys that just are happy doing flash and that's all they want to do?
Oh, like I was saying, I think it's, like I said, it's become it's almost become a lost art. Very few people just want to do flash. Everybody's got this like highfalutin idea that they want to be a big artist and they want to just do what they want to do and they want to just work on custom work and whatnot, which I don't think is necessarily, a great thing. Like, I think, not everybody comes into a tattoo shop wanting a Da Vinci. They, some people just want that regular, that regular piece off the wall. And who are you to say that they're wrong? So I think those people out there, the hardest part is, is just getting people to know that you're capable of doing what they want. Like, they don't have to come in with a super preconceived notion. Like, if you want to do flash, and you got to show them that that's what you're offering them, and that they can get it. You know what I mean? They have to be able to know it's there. And I think that getting people that just want to get flash, it's becoming, like I said, it's becoming something that not many people want any longer. Now everybody wants something drawn for them or whatever, But I think putting sellable stuff on the walls and letting people know that, you have what they're looking for. They just got to go look for it, or you got to show it to them, I think that's really important, I don't think it's all about, like, art. Like I said, not everybody gets tattooed because they're looking for, a great piece of art. Some people just want to get tattooed because they're looking to get tattooed.
Yeah.
I mean, back when I first started tattooing, man, I did more fucking Tasmanian devils and little bitty roses on girls' ankles and hips and shit than you could shake a stick at. And that's what the business was back then.
It seemed like at one point it was more about the experience than the actual tattoo.
Exactly, and I think that gets lost on a lot of people. I don't think people have very good tattoo experiences. I mean, I've heard more cases where people come into a shop and they get treated like complete dog shit, all because the artist didn't want to talk to them, you know what I mean? Or I don't think that's really a good thing. I think it's, it's like I said, it's the whole kit and caboodle. It's the whole experience. If you're not having a good time getting tattooed, then it kind of dampens the whole experience overall, And I think it's really important that people have a good time while getting tattooed. I mean, that's, in my opinion, that's part of it. If I have a shitty time getting tattooed by an individual, that's going to affect how much, how I feel about the tattoo that I'm wearing. You know what I mean? And as dumb as that sounds, it's the truth. You know what I mean? It really is. I mean, if you go to, a foreign country for the first time, you should be super excited. But if you have a fucking miserable time while you're there, it's not going to leave a very good impression on you. It's the same thing with the tattoo. You know, you can get the best tattoo in the world and just fucking hate it because you had a miserable experience. Where the same thing could be said about a bad tattoo. You can get a fucking horrendous tattoo, but you'll go back to that artist because he made you feel comfortable and you enjoyed yourself.
Right.
You know?
Because it was more about the experience at the time.
Exactly. I mean,
right.
you know, back in the, when you know, 6 college girls come to get a little bitty tattoo on their hip, you know, and all get the same tattoo, the experience means just as much to them as walking around with something that's going to be on them for the rest of their life.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I think that's really, really important, and I think that's part of what's become lost, you know, by a lot of individuals in this business. You know, it's not so much about, you know, it's not so much about giving the people what they want and making sure they have a good time while getting it. It's just about, you know, doing what you want to do on them, you know, and getting them in and out as quickly as possible.
Right.
You know what I mean? And not dealing with them. You know, people aren't, you know, blank canvases. They're you know, they're thinking, you know.
Right. You're dealing with the public, a living person. That's probably one of the biggest challenges of being in this business. Do you think?
Most definitely, yeah. I think not forgetting that the people you're tattooing are just that. They're people. You know, that they're here to get, you know, you're there to perform a service. You know, they're not there doing you a favor. You know what I mean? Or you're not. You know, it's like you're getting paid for what you're doing. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I think the more people, you know, don't forget that, the better, you know, I think the better their business is going to end up being.
So what are you doing now? You're working on the hair.
Yeah, I'm actually, this is kind of a mix between like hair and kind of like her headdress.
Oh, part of the headdress? Okay.
Yeah, and some of the background. I'm just kind of, I usually try to blend it into the hand. I try to cover as much of the hand as possible, much to the individual's glee. Because the furthest reaching parts of the hands, like as you get towards the palm and stuff, those are the areas that if you're going to have a hard time with ink holding up, it's going to be in those areas, you know. So I'm just trying to cover as much of the hand as possible, and just make it a complete piece. Because eventually when you work off of the hand, like, I mean, I think it looks cool when you just got a piece on your hand and that's that. Mm-hmm. But I really like it when it's a complete piece. There's no. It
just ties right into to the rest of the sleeve.
From the rest of the sleeve. Yeah, I think that's really, really important.
How's it feel, Jason?
Oh, good.
Not too bad.
Not too bad at all.
So, where did you get the name Joey Razor Blades from?
Yeah, these fucking dicks. Eric, who came over? That was Jimmy Dillon, right?
It was Jimmy and I.
Yeah, these guys, fucking jerks. And the worst thing is it fucking.
The fact that if I getting tattooed by Joe, it feels like you're being cut with razor blades.
Yeah, because back then, like, I used to use a lot, like nothing but Type 3s, and they compared the experience with literally being cut by razors. And the one fucking name that stuck with me the entire freaking time is in that stupid name.
Joey Razor Blades.
Actually, it kind of got quiet for a little while, and then it popped up again recently.
Well, after you tattooed me, I think I brought it back up because it does feel like hot razor blades. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but I got Eric and fucking Jimmy to thank for that.
I even brought it up in the email.
Yeah, you brought it up too. It's Connecticut people, because everybody in New York knew better, or didn't know better. They didn't know it was a difference in getting tattooed with a Type 3 or a 7 round.
Yeah. So you find that most of your clients are other tattoo guys?
Yeah, I tattoo a lot of other tattooers, which is kind of a cool thing. I really enjoyed it. I mean, it's a little bit more. I think there's a little bit more pressure tattooing another tattooer, because I think a lot of times it's just people kind of sitting with you to pick your brain a little bit, see how you go about doing certain things, which is cool. I mean, I always tell people, like, you want to become better at something, get tattooed by the individual that you like, whose work you admire. I mean, I'm sure you can relate when you got tattooed by Bob Tyrrell.
Oh, yeah.
Watching him work on you and stuff.
Getting tattooed by everyone I've been tattooed by has been a huge influence in my tattooing.
Yeah.
So I definitely recommend it,
I mean, that's a very big deal, man. That's one of the nice things about conventions and getting out there is just knowing that you get to watch people work, you get tattooed by them, like you walk away with with the learning experience, whether it be just remembering it or just knowing that you got, having that tattoo. I think that's part of it. I mean, that's part of having a good experience is watching somebody being able to pick their brain while you're getting tattooed there, real important. So yeah, so I think a lot of the individuals I tattoo are other tattooers. And again, that's part of the thing. It's been the nice thing about being in Connecticut is it's kind of centrally located. So I got most of my clientele back from like the New York area, you know, which I lost when I moved up to New Hampshire. And I don't blame anybody for that because that was kind of a fucking haul to expect people to make. But that was kind of a cool thing that I got most of that back, and it's just been a very, very positive thing, you know.
That's good. So, would you consider Connecticut your permanent home base for now?
Oh yeah, most definitely. I mean, I think if I told my girlfriend we were moving again, she'd fucking kill me. So, no, it's cool. I mean, it's close enough to where I grew up on Long Island, you know, in New York, that I could still go home and visit occasionally. And you know, there's plenty of airports around here that it's easy for me to get out and do what I need to do, or it's easy for clients to come in and do what they got to do, you know. So from that standpoint, it's been a really big boon, you know.
Yeah.
That was why I worked at Darkside for that short time, was to try to, you know, because it was close to where I wanted to kind of, you know, where my clientele was coming from and stuff. So that was kind of an important thing.
Right. What's your plans as far as in the future, as far as traveling? Do you have many conventions coming up?
I got a bunch of shows coming up. Like we're doing, getting ready to go to Salt Lake City in like less than 2 weeks. After Salt Lake, we head to, I'm trying to think, February, March. Actually, Salt Lake, I was supposed to go to Detroit and had to back out of that. I have a solo art show coming up out in Philadelphia. In March. April, I do the Reading Tattoo Convention. May, I'm doing a guest spot down in Fort Worth, Texas. A friend of mine opened up a shop called Speakeasy Tattoo. Really, really cool place. Haven't been there yet. I've only seen photos, so I'm pretty excited to get there and see that. But we're going down there for his grand opening, and I'm going to do a guest spot while I'm there.
Are you going to see Jimmy?
Actually, at some point, probably in April, before April, hopefully Jimmy's coming out this way, which would be nice to see him out here.
Yeah.
He just had the baby, so he's been kind of, you know.
No, we're talking about Jimmy Litwalk.
Yeah, Jimmy Litwalk, yeah.
Right.
Him and his wife just had a baby, so he's been kind of like MIA for a little bit. He moved to Vegas, and he's trying to, you know, just keep things going with that.
Right.
So he's supposed to come up here. Him, Tony Savaro, and myself are working on a book project. We're doing a sketchbook. This will be Flash,
Right.
so people will be able to do whatever the fuck they want with it. But we're actually doing a sketchbook project. It's supposed to be read. It's supposed to go to print in April 1st. So Jimmy's supposed to come up here, and we're supposed to hammer out a couple of pages and try to put the finishing touches on it. So hopefully that'll be sooner than later. And then, like I said, I really dug going to Vegas the last time when he first started working back in December. So I'm kind of excited. I would like to get back out there and see him there. You know, I mean, again, it's one of the nice things about the business, man. Being able to travel and do stuff has been a blast. You know, it's been a lot of fun. I recommend it highly.
So you how often do you draw? Because it sounds like I don't see how you find time for anything other than drawing.
Just about every day, like depending on, like right now I've got a lot of big projects in the works, so I've been pretty lucky with not having to draw every day, like not having to draw for clients every day. But 9 times out of 10, because I've got so much going on, most people's drawings don't get done until the morning of. So every morning we'll start off with a pot of coffee.
Like I said.
Yeah, exactly. Starts off with a pot of coffee. I check my internet, check my email, go upstairs, do my drawings for the day, and then come to work, have some more coffee, and get my day started that way. And at night, I try to paint at home. I've been trying to get back into painting. Obviously, that's what I was doing before I started tattooing.
Now you're doing more airbrush.
Yeah, pretty much majority of it is airbrush. Yeah, and since things have been so busy, it's kind of hard to get back into that, which is a shame, because I really do enjoy doing it. You know,
Right.
So I try to get back into painting as much as I can. I think this year is the year I'm going to try to spend a little bit more time concentrating on my art. You know. I've cut back on how many clients I'm taking, because I just don't want to overload myself with a shitload of new clients and not be able to take care of my old clients. And I'm kind of getting a shit name for it, I think. but I don't want to burn anybody by, you know, I don't want to be one of those guys that's booked fucking 2 years in advance, which I can see very easily happening by taking everything that comes my way. So, I mean, the people who know better know that I'm not dissing them, I'm not trying to push them off, but, and the people who don't, you know, if they don't know any better, then they just have to wait it out and see, you know.
What's the easiest way to get a hold of you if someone wanted to get an appointment from you?
I always tell people to drop me an email. Based on that, I'll tell you what my schedule looks like. And I'm usually pretty good about getting back to most people. I mean, I'm not going to say I'm 100% because I'm not. That would be a lie. But I usually am pretty good about trying to get back to people. So I tell everybody, like, you know, get in touch with me via email, and I'll tell you when to call. I only take appointments via the phone. I don't take email appointments unless it's someone from a different country, you know. And they absolutely, you know, the time is just too difficult to try to make arrangements through. But usually the best way is to first correspond with me via email, and then from there we can work out all the details.
And I notice you're starting to focus on the eyes a bit.
Yep.
Do you normally do the eyes first?
Only because the skin tones in this are going to be on the, not that they're going to be light, but I don't want to muddy up, her eyes are going to be dark green.
Okay.
And I don't want to muddy up my skin tones.
With the green, so
Yeah,
you
with
want
the
to make
green.
sure you do your darkest tone first.
Exactly. So I'm going to get those greens in there now so that there's less to worry about later.
Now you're using a 7 mag at
This is
at
a
this
7
point?
mag, yeah. This is now my 7 mag, yep.
Yeah. Do you like to jump around and use a round set sometimes too when you
Yeah,
get
a
into
lot
that
of
area?
times I'll go back in and tighten up, like clean up my line work, not my line work, but clean up my edges of around my line work with a tight 3. I mean, with the tight 5. And the idea behind this is it just kind of makes things look a little less, you know, a little bit more seamless, you know.
So you just get the little gaps in between, make it a little bit more solid.
Exactly.
What is that foam you're actually using?
I actually use Dr. Bronner's peppermint soap while I tattoo, and the foamer was just something I picked up in Japan. You can get them here now, I know that. It seems to be a little less. I mean, obviously spray bottles are bad, you know.
Yeah.
And this is a little bit more cost effective as far as how much soap you use, and it's a little bit less traumatic than, like, you know, using a paper towel all the time.
Right.
You know.
Now you're using what's in the blue bottle that you're using?
It's a Band-Aid brand medicated wash. It's basically got a bit of a not lidocaine, but a pain reliever in it. So it kind of takes the edge off the tattoo. Right? You'd say it takes the edge off the tattoo, right? Yeah, definitely.
So it more or less cools the area, so it makes it a little easier for the razor blades to
Yeah,
penetrate.
exactly. You don't really know how much damage is being done until it's too late.
Have you gotten faster in your old age or slower?
You know, it's weird. Like, when I was in New York, I was pretty quick. And then I went up work with Corey, and I got real self-conscious of my work, so I got slow. And since moving to Connecticut, I've gotten a little quick, but I'm still kind of just I think I'm kind of medium speed.
Medium speed?
Yeah. I'd like to say I was quicker, but I'm not. I'm sure everybody would wish I was quicker. And I can still move on certain things. I mean, we did your arm pretty quick.
Yeah, that was exactly 4 sessions and about 5-hour sittings apiece. So
Yeah, so it's not too bad.
yeah, we got it done pretty quick.
I think sometimes I think I'm quicker than I actually am because you're not paying attention to what's being done. You know, because you're not the one obviously taking the pain.
Do you find talking helps?
Yeah. Oh, talking actually kind of slows me down, if anything. I become a bit of a chatty Cathy while tattooing sometimes.
It makes the time go by for both of you.
Yeah, exactly.
Somebody say Carter?
Oh, dude, I'm not that fucking bad. I don't think I would go as far as to say it's not even a comparison.
Well, he's still moving the needle when you're talking.
Yeah, at least I
we'll
don't
give you
stop
that.
and
We'll
be
give you
like,
that.
yeah, so.
We'll give you that.
All right, now here's where all my second guessing is done because I'm still not 100% sure what I'm doing with the skin tone, so I'm kind of just now I'm just kind of screwing around. I'm getting all the parts I know that I'm going to do it done.
How's that make you feel, Jason?
I think it's better to be.
I've tattooed by him before, so I'm aware of what's going on.
This isn't like surgery, man. It's not like I'm like your surgeon going, I'm not really sure where the appendix goes. I'd like to think whatever I screw up, I can fix.
Oh, okay.
We could have done without that.
I'd like to think that. I didn't say I could.
So working on the lips.
Yep. Like I said, I'm kind of biding my time until I know for certain what I'm going to do with the skin tone.
Now, the tone you're using, you basically used a little purple and red, or
Yeah, basically
Okay.
what I did is I used their, I think it's crimson. It's like their red. It's not their dark red. It's like a cherry red almost.
Yeah.
But what I do is I dip into the pure pigment purple, so it gives me like kind of a richer red tone, like almost a burgundy tone, without being like a muddied up red.
Yeah.
Because I'm going for a pretty dark red. And then what I'll do is like I'll just keep working back and forth into my red until I get a true red.
Do you have any tips as to how to get that fullness in the lips that you do? Like a lot of your artwork, the lips are just so key, you know.
Yeah, I think on this kind of stuff, the most important parts of a pinup, in my opinion, you know, again, because I mean, there are some guys who really don't give a shit what a girl looks like, but the most important parts is really the face and like the eyes and the lips. Like those are the two, and the nose. Like I mean, the key features of the face.
Right.
Those are really the most important things, you know. If you can kind of keep those things looking, you know, either true to life or just a little animated,
Yeah.
that's really going to give you like just a really good look. You know what I mean? Like a real strong feel to the piece, which is really what you need when you, especially on a hand. You know, you want the piece to really be kind of striking. You know. So
is there any artist that you got tips from when you were coming up, like as far as doing girls?
not so much tips, more inspiration. There's, like I said, when I first started painting, it was Olivia, who I'm a huge fan of till this day. So just like her, just the kind of like the wholesomeness of her girls, I think is what's really important, and the sexiness of her girls. And then there's like other artists like Gil Elfgren has probably been one of my biggest influences. He's a pinup artist from the 40s and 50s. Hands down, probably one of my biggest, personal influences.
Yeah.
And I get a lot of like the perkiness of the lips and the wide eyes, probably from him. And this is where I'm saying it comes into play, where you find an artist you admire and you kind of run with what you see. That's why I recommend that.
No, you're just dropping the highlight after you put the darker tones in.
Yep. The idea is to not have the highlights be so blazing,
Yep.
Use a lot more pinks than I use white. And then, when you do put your white in, your white is going to be that much higher, because you're not packing a whole lot of white around all this red.
Right. I think that's a big mistake when, even when I do like women, I tend to use more white in the lip than pink.
Yeah.
And you get that. When you're done with it, you see that big white highlight on there.
The white should be the extreme,
It
not
should
not the norm.
So you want to build up to that point and then drop a little bit of white, not a lot.
Exactly. There you go. And you still got to put the white in. That'll probably be done last. Did I got it so far? Not too bad. It's okay.
You're stalling pretty good.
Yeah, I'm still stalling. I'm still working on it. Still trying to figure out where I'm going with this. I think now comes the moment of truth.
Now, is it normal for his hand to look like a pillow?
Oh yeah, this isn't even so bad. Wait till tonight. Tonight will be much worse.
Get the ice pack and stuff.
So icing is key after you're done with the hand.
After you're done with the tattoo, believe it or not, like with a hand, especially with hand, is I think getting to an ER immediately. Basically, when you do your hand, I think like ibuprofen after you're done getting tattooed definitely is a humongous help. That's really important. And keeping it clean, that's really the key. A lot of people don't think your hands are filthy. You know, they touch everything. You know, knowing which side your wallet's in is important. You know, because you don't want to have to worry about reaching in your pocket with your banged up hand. You never realize just how much you use your hands for even the stupidest of things on a daily basis until you get one that you can't really touch anything with. You know.
Right. So you decided to go with the brown base for the flesh tone.
Basically what I'm doing is I'm working that reddish brown again, but I'm cutting it with green. So it gives me kind of it's giving me kind of a darker, you know, like a dingier tone, not quite so blazing.
Now when you say cutting it with green, you're literally talking a dot of green?
Literally taking my machine, which has already been dipped in the brown,
Yeah.
and then just touching the green pigment. And that gives you kind of that dingier tone. Hey, what's up, man? Okay, cool. What was that about? This is like the true bitch of doing a hand tattoo too, is the right around the knuckles. Well, you know, I actually meant just trying to get the cuffing in there, but yeah, it hurts too. Yeah, this is like the hardest part because even your knuckles, like obviously, I mean, if you've seen hand tattoos, knuckle tattoos and stuff, like it's kind of difficult to get the ink in there and make it stick, especially when you're trying to do subtle tones. Very, very difficult, you know. So you try to kind of, you almost ride that middle ground, you know.
Yeah, you're packing it, but not overpacking it.
Yeah, exactly, because you don't want to fucking bang. It's real easy to tear somebody up.
Yeah.
Like when you're tattooing a hand, you can literally see, like when the hand starts to swell up a little bit, you can see all the little all the little nooks and crannies of the hand. And when you tear it up, like you know it, like right away you know it. You know?
Yeah. So you got to just keep a watchful eye.
Yeah, you got to kind of know when you're working. You try not to work too fast.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and be aware, you know, what you're doing. Like, you know, you've gone over the area 2-3 times. You know, you can't go over it again. You know, and that all comes with, you know, I guess practice, you know, and experience. Like I do a lot of hands, so, and not everything heals up well. I mean, it's up to the individual after I'm done with them to take care of it. And some people just have a harder time healing. I think when I tattooed Eric's hand, his was the very first hand I'd ever done. And the first time I tattooed him, it was kind of rough when it healed. And then we did it the second time, and he had a rough heal again, but everything stayed in, you know.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it's got to do with just how people take care of their stuff. You know, he did a good job taking care of it.
Yeah.
Even after he was having a hard time with it, you know, and
Yeah.
it still healed up fine.
Yeah. Usually you recommend having people take a few days off after a hand tattoo, if possible.
Yeah, if at all possible. Obviously, that's not going to be the
case. Yeah.
the easiest for everybody. But most people understand that, like, you know, they're obviously doing something to themselves that they kind of got to take care of, you know. It sucks to have to lose out on work, but it's better that than have to go through this again in 6 months, you know, and then go through the whole thing of missing out on work again.
Right. So let's talk about a little bit about Hope Gallery. Well, what's going on here? Like, what do you got going on?
Well, originally what happened was we all worked together. Well, I mean, you guys worked together a lot longer than I did at Darkside, but I've known Eric for Shit. 10 years, Eric? A long time we've known each other. I started tattooing him and Jimmy Dillon years ago. And that was kind of our key in to the relationship. And then when I was looking to get the fuck out of New Hampshire, I didn't know where I wanted to go. The guys at Dark Side, mainly through Eric, have been, always been cool with me going out there and working, doing guest spots and stuff, and banging those guys up. And when they knew I was going to move, they offered me a place to stay. And I worked there for about a year. I was renting a room there for about a year. And I won't get into the details, but like I said, it went belly up there. And the three of us, me, you, and Eric, decided that we wanted to do something, and get the hell out of that environment and just be in a real creative. I mean, the fact of the matter is, if you're in a shitty environment and you're in an area that you're really not happy with, and you're working with people that just make things difficult, not to mention the fact you got to worry about the fucking place getting shut down on a daily basis, it gets kind of nerve-wracking. When I worked at Colorbox, we had it was a very low-key operation. It was literally appointment only. It was all word of mouth. We didn't advertise at all. We literally just, tattooed the people who knew where we were and came looking for us. And in my opinion, you can't get better clients than that. Like people who know what they want and are willing to look for it and willing to wait to get it. That was pretty much how this place started. When I first moved to New Haven, I totally love this building. I remember driving down here and seeing this building all the time and being like, wow, that'd be a great place for a shop. And when we decided to move on and this place was available, I kind of jumped on it, and it was kind of a pain in the ass. Anybody who has ever opened up a tattoo shop knows the fucking hoops you got to jump through. I had to write a resume, let the landlord of the time know who we were, how long we'd been tattooing, awards we'd won, literally just basically straight up make up all this shit. Not even make up, but let him know who we were, in the industry. That we weren't just a couple of slouches looking to hack up the people in New Haven. We were just looking for a place of our own, And thank God he took us, he allowed us to open up here. And we ended up going with a gallery feel because we've obviously got quite a bit of space, and the idea was to have a cool thing for people to check out while they were here. We've held a handful of art shows, after we opened. It would be nice to do more. Unfortunately, it's also very difficult, to try to run a business, take care of your clientele, and run an art gallery. But we've had a fair share of shows and stuff, and we've just got a real laid-back environment for everybody to work in. Everybody makes their own hours. We have a phone service that takes care of the phone calls that come in. You answer the phone when you want. You call your people back when you want. So it's a real laid-back environment. Definitely dig it. Definitely dig it. Sucks that we have to pay for parking, but other than that,
downtown New Haven.
Yeah, but that's being in a city. That's the shitty thing about being in a city. But there is a coffee shop directly around the corner, so it's kind of a good thing.
Again, with the coffee.
Yeah, again the coffee.
Oh, I don't drink a lot of coffee.
I don't drink any more coffee than you guys do. No, exactly. I know. Oh, Eric. Even Eric drinks coffee now. Eric never drank coffee until we opened up here, so. And you only drink bad coffee, so now you know what good coffee tastes like.
This is true.
See? So a good thing comes from drinking lots of coffee. Educate other people into how to drink lots of coffee.
I'm sure people want to know.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so you're doing some light blue in the skin tone?
Yeah, I'm trying to break it up a little bit and just throw a little bit of highlight colors in, just to kind of because it is a predominantly beige look to the face, and I don't want it to look too not simplistic, but I want to kind of add a little bit of highlights and stuff to it. What did you say? Yeah, exactly. Throw as much shit as you can in, hope it goes down.
Was that more of a light source, you say?
It's not so much. I think it's not so much. Yeah, it's not a main light source. It's more of a secondary, colored shadow. Like a lighted shadow.
Right.
Because it's not really like, it's not giving off, because I'm going to do another light source on this.
Yeah.
So this is more of just like a highlighted shadow.
So do you get hung up on these guys that say, you know, oh, the light source has to be correct?
Not
coming
really.
from one
Again,
direction?
man, this ain't fine art. You know, I mean, it does make sense, and when it's done well and it's done right, you can definitely tell the difference.
Right.
But I mean, you know, it's also like special effects, you know. It's like watching a fucking good sci-fi movie versus a bad sci-fi movie. You know what I mean? You don't really care if the Tyrannosaurus Rex not supposed to be there, and you really can't run that fast. It makes for a better movie.
Right.
You know, and that's the same thing with certain lights, like certain highlights and special effects. Is like it's going to make the overall effect of the tattoo look right and look cool,
Yeah.
which is really what it's about. You know what I mean?
And that, again, that goes back to style.
Exactly.
To your
you know?
style.
Some
as far
people
as-
can pull it off, and you know, obviously, some people cannot. You know, and it shows. You know, so with me, I think that's probably why I tend to keep things a little bit simpler because I think I like subtleties. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I think that just to me it looks a little bit more realistic than you know, these blazing bright colors and stuff like that. But this one I'll throw a couple of little highlights in to kind of add to the effect of the piece. You know, the overall look of the piece.
How long does the average hand tattoo take for you?
I can
normally?
usually, depending on the size of the hand, like this is also going up onto the wrist, so this isn't really the average size, but I usually can do a hand within 2 to 3 hours, you know, depending on the amount of detail and stuff, and how much I talk. So usually about 2 to 3 hours. I think we're probably around, I think what were we at, 2.5 hours? 2 hours? I don't even know what time we started. We're at 2.5? Yeah, so I'm probably a little behind my schedule. I have to pull my ass out of the mud here. Already halfway through coloring the face though, so.
This is looking good. Getting near the end, I think.
Yeah, we're getting there. Almost.
Just have the flesh tones.
Yep, got to finish up. Well, this flesh tones on this side are done. I'm going to hammer out the rest on that side. It should be, like certain things, like the little details actually take a lot longer than, you know,
The open areas.
than the open areas.
That's when you switch back to an 11.
Yep,
to do the
I'm back,
larger
yeah,
stuff?
back into the 11 now, kind of hammering out the bigger, broader strokes, you know. It's like a lot easier to get those like nice simple, you know, color changes and fades, you know.
I noticed you put that almost underside of the nose in almost all your drawings.
I
now.
do that a lot. It's almost become like a style kind of crutch because it kind of adds a little bit of detail. One of my hardest things to ever draw were noses, and just watching how certain other artists work. This I think I bit from a cartoon, from a comic book artist. It might have been. Shit, who does that a lot? That weird little undercut on the nose. Is it? Yeah, J. Scott Campbell. I think I pretty much bit that from him. Like, got the idea originally from him. Gil Elgren does it too, but not to like obviously not as. It's not quite as like noticeable on his paintings as it is on like a cartoon, like a comic book page, you know.
Right.
But yeah, it's become like kind of it's just a simple little like kind of trick. You know.
Do you find it defines the nose a little easier?
Exactly, without having to do it all in shading, especially because, I mean, to pull off those super smooth shades, you know, and any kind of subtlety, it's kind of difficult to get the roundness of a face or the nose or whatever without really without really mucking things up or muddying it up. And doing little things like that kind of makes it easier. It's also a great place to kind of catch a highlight, you know, stupid shit like that, like real simple little tricks, you know,
Right.
without doing a ton of work, you know.
Now that more or less is your own thing as far as adding it, because like your reference obviously doesn't have that.
Yeah, it's not quite. I mean, it's there, but it's real subtle. You know, so with something like that, when I do it, it's also just to try to. It definitely makes it my own. Like, I mean,
You just key in on subtle things.
exactly, and things kind of. The problem with it is like things tend to look a little bit alike, and I guess you can say it's their style. You know what I mean? But when things start to get to the point where they're almost too noticeable to me, where I notice they all look the same, I try to break away from them a little bit. You know?
Right. Now, is there any little tricks or advice you use for, say, drawing eyes or noses better?
It's something I couldn't really tell without like showing. You know what I mean?
You'd have to more or less draw.
Yeah, it's easier to show. Like it's easier to show it. It's little things that I always try to tend to do. With the quick layout of like how quick I can lay out a nose, and then where the nose sits in relation to the eyes. Like I've actually shown you a handful of times where it's like I'll kind of like accentuate certain features on the piece
Right.
all the time because I know what the effect is going to be like, you know.
Yeah, there's certain things like changing the curve of a woman's body to make it more hourglass.
Exactly, giving her more hips and more.
But that has nothing to do with real life. It has more to do with stylizing it so
Exactly.
that it looks more readable.
Yeah, exactly, and not to mention the fact that not a lot of women are built like that. I mean, I like to make a lot of women look like Selma Hayek.
Yeah,
You know,
exaggerate
certain features that are going to definitely you're going to look at as a turn on top of just giving it a well-rounded appeal. Like I mean, yeah, exactly, mildly perverted. Well, the other thing too is like when you look at cartoons, like you know, they don't look real. They look animated. They have a feel to them that is totally unrealistic.
Yeah,
And I think that's kind of what I try to go for.
so you go more for a mix between cartoon and realism.
And realism, yeah. You don't want to get lost into doing like, you know, making it look strictly like a cartoon, but
Yeah.
you kind of want to keep the realistic edge to it, you know, but you want that. I mean, that's one of the reasons I like looking at people's sketchbooks. I like the vibe you get from a sketchbook that you don't get from a finished piece of art on some people's work. Some people lose it in the finished art, you know.
In the translation.
Yeah, in the translation of the two. You know, it's still, the finished art looks fantastic, but when you compare it to the sketch of it, it loses that energy and that, you know, that flow.
Are you using more of a brownish orange at this time?
Yeah, it's actually I'm cutting my brown to my ochre, which is giving me that mid-tone, and then I'm cutting my my flesh tone. I cut with a yellow, to kind of take away the purple, the coolness to it, because the flesh toner has a bit of a purple feel to it, and I really don't want it to have that purple feel. I want to keep it kind of a little bit cool. I mean, yeah, a little bit cool.
So is there any future projects that you are interested in doing that you haven't gotten it done yet? In the future?
Like I said, there's that thing we're doing with Jimmy and Tony, that sketchbook. There's a new set of Flash I'm working on, trying to get that done. We're all part of a show that's coming out called Kicks in California. That show is in, I think is it February or March? I don't remember.
No, it's this month. The
It's
14th.
this month.
They're due.
Yeah, they do. But when's the actual show?
Yeah, it's February.
Okay. Yeah, so that's kind of cool. I'm still working on that. I haven't finished my shoe for that yet. That I'm pretty excited about. That should be fun. A handful, a couple little projects. To be honest, it's just like I haven't said yes to a lot of stuff because of the time constraints and whatnot. Just trying to find the time to do a lot of stuff. But hopefully, I'll be able to be involved in more of it than less of it. You know, mainly shows. That's been a lot of like where I've been thinking, which is probably what's taking away from my painting.
More tattoo shows, you mean?
Yeah, a lot more conventions. Like I'm looking forward to going to Long Beach. That should be a lot of fun. It was great last year. They had some really good names at it. You got to stay on the Queen Mary, which was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
You know.
What are some of the guys you enjoy hanging out with when you hit the conventions? Like that you constantly keep in contact with?
We go to shows with like I've done a couple of shows with Jimmy Litwalk, which I'm actually doing. We're doing Long Beach with him. Really, I dig like Rodney Raines, his girlfriend Lisa. Really like hanging out with them at shows. We used to hang out with Mike Dorsey a long time ago. He kind of disappeared. I don't know what the hell happened to him. Just recently got real friendly with this guy, Jay Langer. He's actually a super nice guy. Hunter Spanks, another really nice guy. And actually got to hang out with them recently. They've been a lot of fun to hang around with.
What about, like Bob Tyrell?
Bob's
those
super cool.
guys?
Yeah, he's another one. He kind of moved to Canada, so he hasn't been at a lot of shows lately. But he's another super nice guy. He's been here a couple times. You know that, obviously.
Yeah.
But he's come to the shop a couple times and done guest spots here. And he's a super nice guy. Really, really fun to be around and stuff. And him and he just moved to, like I said, he moved to Canada. He's got dual citizenship now, so we got to visit him a few months ago. Me and my girl went up to see him. That was a lot of fun. Like I said, I really enjoyed Bob's company. Super nice guy. He came here. He tattooed you in Michigan. He tattooed Eric here.
Yeah.
You know, a couple other friends here. A lot of fun. A lot of fun to be around.
What's some of the benefits to having guest artists or going to do guest spots?
Well, just seeing what other people are doing. I think that's really the biggest boon to it. You know.
How many guest spots would you say you've done, or have you done a lot?
I've done a lot. I mean, more than I could probably count. Coming up, I've got a handful. That's actually because my industrial light and magic effect. My yellow.
Oh, green yellow.
So I think like I actually enjoy doing the guest spots more because it's a lot more personable. I usually don't do a guest spot unless I know the people I'm going to stay with or whatever. Because a lot of times, you know, you're kind of putting somebody out by coming to their hometown and usually staying at their place and stuff. And I've been very, very lucky to be treated very well by people who I've stayed with, you know. Like we went up to Canada and we hung out with Bob and his wife and his girl, Yolanda. When I went to North Carolina, I worked at Ace Tattoo. I stayed with Rodney and his girlfriend, Lisa. Like, it's just a lot of fun. Like, and it's a much more laid-back environment. You can kind of, you know, most people who are getting tattooed by you know who you are, so they're really cool with, like, kind of hanging out and just kind of letting you have fun with what you're doing. And it's you know, you get to go out to dinner every night and kind of hang out and have a couple drinks and just really enjoy your time with people, you know, which at home you don't really get all that much of. You know, you go out occasionally. For the most part, it's like, you know, I hate to use the word daily grind because, I mean, there are worse things. It's not like we're out digging ditches. You know, it's a great career, but it is. It's like, you know, you get into your own way of doing things at home. When you're away, it's kind of like you'll kind of shoot from the hip and you just enjoy yourself, you know, you enjoy the day.
Right. All right, so you're pumping yellow into it. Is that the last tone you plan on putting in there?
No, I'm still going to put a little bit of white in it. Again, I don't use a shitload of white because it's a hand, you know what I mean? And there's no guarantee how well the white is going to hold up. And
right. You don't want to worry about tanning and sun exposure.
Exactly. I mean, yellow is not 100% either, but it's the lesser of two evils, I think. You know, I think given the choice of yellow or white, you know, my yellow should hold up a little bit better. And it's a cooler effect because I use very, very kind of subtle, muddier tones in the face, and I think the yellow is going to have more of an impact than the white will, you know. Mm-hmm. Plus, I'm going to use like the yellow in the eyes, kind of give her a kind of a roomy kind of like feel to her face. Kind of give it a bit more of a glowy, kind of haunting look.
It's funny because you see all the skin tones just come together that last 15
Yeah.
minutes.
Yeah, usually it's
Right.
like this is the one part that I really don't go like, you know, section to section. Like this is like with the whole face is for the most part, with the exception of a couple of little spots, the whole face is kind of done at the same time because you don't want to lose that overall look for the whole piece. You know what I mean? Like
The
you kind of,
consistency of it?
yeah, the consistency. You don't want to start working one area completely done, and then by the time you've gotten down to the bottom of it, your cup tone has changed a hair, and it's noticeable. Not to say that's never happened to me. It's actually happened a handful of times. You kind of learn by, you know, the mistakes you make. Like I said, I've had people where I've done the whole tattoo and been like, whoa, what the fuck happened there? And a lot of times it's like if you don't take those breaks where you kind of get up and walk around a second and then come back with fresh eyes, it's real easy to kind of realize, like, you know, that you're fucked up. You know, it's like you kind of let things, you know, get away from you. So you try not to, you know, you try to take a break, constantly keep it clean, you know, constantly look at it. And like I said, when you work certain areas section to section, and then other areas you work the whole area, you know, you kind of keep a little bit of continuity to it, you know.
Mhm.
So we're starting to get there, almost done. How you hold on, okay?
Good. Oh yeah, she's coming together.
And that scar on my hand is gonna swell really bad.
Where's your scar down here?
Yeah.
Yeah, the knuckle.
I broke a knuckle.
How long ago?
Years ago, high school. I put the cap on my knuckle in the palm of my hand,
Oh,
and they said if I break it again, they're gonna need metal pins to keep it in place.
This is your fucking tattoo hand too, isn't it?
Yeah.
You daffy bastard.
Well, this was in high school. Back then, it was all about football.
Nice.
you played football? No.
Fucking big mama Luke.
Junior played football one season.
Yeah. Mine.
Freshman year, you played.
Yeah.
Wasn't cool enough for you?
Sucked.
Junior was little too.
I sucked at it.
When did you get big, Julio? I remember
Probably my
seeing those-
senior year.
End of junior year.
Yeah,
You
junior year.
started putting on some size.
I remember seeing those pictures of you, the fucking workout guy. That was funny as shit.
All right, let's get off of me. Back to you.
No, I think that was funny. I got no problem talking about you for a little bit. That's funny. Eric, you've seen those photos, right? Julio is the bodybuilder?
No.
I only know about watermelon speedo.
A watermelon Speedo?
This could be edited out, right? All right.
No, that's got to stay in. I think I get the final say on what gets edited out, don't I?
Okay, so you're putting all the white highlights in now.
Yep, I'm working on the white now.
You usually do that last, right?
Yeah, well, it's like anything else. Like, you don't want to stain your whites. And believe it or not, whites have a tendency to kind of, like, clog up things, like kind of make your pores fill up. And it's one of the harder colors to wipe away, well, for me, to wipe away.
Mm-hmm.
So I tend to like using it at the very last, you know. And that's pretty standard, you know, procedure.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, tattoo etiquette, you know. And I'm going to go back in again with a tiny bit of, with my liner again, just to kind of tighten
Alright.
up some of my
You're gonna
corners.
enhance like the makeup on the face, or
What's that?
are you enhancing the dots around the
No,
face?
those I'll probably keep as is because I
of.
kind of want to keep those subtle.
Mm-hmm.
And when those heal up, they should kind of tone down a hair because those were just kind of pecked in with the shader, you know, because I don't want them to be really, really kind of in your face. But I'm also going to do a couple of more little things in a second. Again, this is where not having a clear plan kind of works.
Yeah.
When you give someone a little bit of their own creative freedom, they kind of put that little extra into it.
Well, I think too, part of it comes from the fact that I've done so many of these, like, it's just, I just try to do things that's going to separate certain things, you know? It's going to give them a definite feel of their own, you know?
So you had some light purple hues, stripes on the face.
Yep.
Kind of give it a little bit more
Kind of
makeup
give it a
look.
bit of a makeup-y look, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Without being, like, too clownish, you know? Because that's the thing, too, a lot of times if you kind of, especially with the Day of the Dead stuff, if you don't do it with a clear, clear feeling, it can kind of, it tends to look like she's wearing clown makeup. You know, that and the fact I've done a couple that look straight up like clowns, you know. And cleaning up my corners.
Now you just come right up into the spaces that you might have missed right out across the edge of the line.
I used a pretty broad magnum for this area, so just kind of going back in and cleaning up all my edges. And for 3 fucking years I turned them down, and then this last year, last March as a matter of fact, I went out there, did a guest spot, I did the convention, and then after the show, he's like, he goes, listen man, he's like, I've already talked to a bunch of people, you're doing a seminar while you're here. I'm like, what are you talking about, doing a seminar? And he's like, yeah, you're going to do a seminar. And I'm like, man, I'm really not comfortable with this, Jimmy. He's like, well, I've already talked to a bunch of people. And I'm like, who did you talk to? He's like, local artists, whatever. And I'm like, well, how many people? He's like, I don't know, 13, 14 people. And I'm like, man, you're a dick. I really am not comfortable with this. But I ended up, I put together a little booklet. We made it up like the night, literally the afternoon of the fucking seminar. We put together this whole booklet of stuff. And I had a blast, man. It was a lot of fun. Like I can honestly say I enjoyed myself a lot. Like it was similar to this, just literally sitting around talking shit, like going through all my, like just going through a tattoo one at a time, like, you know. And it was a blast. Like I had a very good time. So since then, I've decided that I would like to try to do a seminar, but it's got to be worthwhile. It's got to be something that, even if people can't take, you know, even if they don't get the seminar, they'll take something away from it. So that was one of the reasons, you know, I kind of wanted to do this. One of it was to help Gabe out and everybody, and just make something, you know, that's going to be worthwhile. It's going to be, you know, stick around for a long time, you know. And the other thing was to have something to give out during the seminar, and so people can walk away and go, oh, that's how you do that? Oh, okay, that's cool. Because, I mean, like anything else in the industry, it's easier to see it and see it through a visualization than it is, and learn through visualization than it is to fucking hear some fucking dude talk about it for 2 hours and then nothing comes out of it, you know? The fact of the matter is, if you don't actually get to see it happening, it's kind of hard to kind of, you know, make the connections, you know?
Like watching you and watching Julio tattoo, when I actually get tattooed by you guys, I learn stuff.
Exactly, just by watching, you know? Just like all the stupid little things we do during the tattoo that, you know, sometimes you take for granted. You know, if you don't do it, you don't know, why people do it. So to watch somebody actually do certain things during a tattoo procedure, you're like, oh shit, that's how you do that? Oh, that makes sense. You know? I mean, that's how I learned about doing, like, you know, working section to section. You know, I learned that from other artists. Not like I came up with that on my own, you know?
Yeah, that goes hand in hand with your theory, though, by paying attention to the artists you admire.
Paying attention to the artists you admire?
Yeah.
Yeah. And not getting, like, caught up in it. Well, even watching, like, when I first started, you know, watching the way you guys do a lot of shit, like, I picked up a lot of that stuff, too.
And then all your bad habits.
Yeah. Not all of them. A handful, though.
Hey.
Hey.
So you're packing the little white light highlights now.
Yep.
All the little fun stuff. What are you using for that? Type 3,
Type,
5?
No, type 5.
Type 5?
Yeah, 3 is really not too conducive to that. Like even a lot of people have a hard time just putting in black with a 3. To try to pack in color, it's even more difficult.
Do you know if 3 is the new 5?
Well, depending on what you did before. That's the fucking best. I love that.
3 is the new loose 8?
Yeah. I love that. All these guys that used to use nothing but fucking, you know, fucking 8 rounds and 9 rounds, now all of a sudden they're breaking out. They're like Type 3s, like they're special effects shit.
Well, I figured I'd stay ahead of the game and bump it down to a single needle again.
No, I'm going to start using, yeah, there you go. I'm going to start using 8 rounds. Start outlining everything super rich bold.
Julio sharpening single needles on a sandstone.
Hey, dude, you get a lot of use out of a single. Jack's been using the same shit for like since the 70s.
Yeah. It works.
He's pairing up single needles with specific tubes.
I missed it. I just got to finish up the neck. I forgot that. Almost left out the most important part.
So what do we got at the bottom of that?
I just left her neck out. I forgot about it.
Just darkening up part of the knuckles there?
Yeah. I don't know why they're going to fall out.
Now, do you do multi-layer tattoos, or do you prefer to do it in one shot?
No, if I can do it in more than one shot, it's a lot easier. Because you could, I mean, it's hard, man. Especially with a lot of the subtleties and stuff. It's kind of difficult to get it all in one single pass. You know, it is for me at least. You know, so I try to. I would prefer to work multi-layers. You know what I mean? Or at least have people come back. For something like this, though, I mean, it only took us like 3 hours. So to do this whole tattoo, and then if you know, hopefully he won't. But if he needs a touch-up, it won't be terrible. You know.
So, I mean, touch-ups on hands are to be expected.
Yeah, yeah. That's one of the reasons I always tell people. Like, I usually charge a flat fee on hands. Even if it's a short period of time, like I charge a flat fee based on the fact that if you need a touch up, I'm not gonna recharge you for it, you know, because it's expected sometimes. You know, not on everybody. I mean, I've had people whose hands healed up beautifully, you know, with no problems, you know, and then sometimes you have people that heal up like complete dog shit, you know. That's really that's the individuals a lot of times. I'm just throwing tiny little. I do this to kind of disguise stuff. A lot of times if things aren't super solid, you can kind of fill up the little shit spots with, like, you know, your liner there. Adds a little bit of texture to an otherwise smooth spot.
So that's it. That's the completion of the tattoo.
Start to finish. It's like a worm.
And over again. Start to finish.
Like we're close right now. Eventually he's talking about covering all that stuff.
Singing and a dancing and clapping and a tapping. Can't wait to find out what is gonna happen. The heaven saying I'm in love with life again. Let's go. Children and my one of the wife, not another rag around. When I hang my hat, my heart will stay at home, baby, that's where it's at. I'm giving it straight, it's a piece of cake. I wanna rock, I wanna roll, for heaven's sake. For heaven's sake. I wanna